What would you do if your estranged son, after years of silence, showed up at your doorstep with a new wife and her teenage son, expecting you to fix their broken lives? I asked myself this question as I stood in my cramped living room, staring at Tommy, my 32-year-old son, who looked like a ghost from a past I tried to bury. His face was gaunt, his clothes threadbare, and his eyes carried a mix of shame and defiance. Beside him stood Lila, his wife of 6 months, a woman with sharp features and an even sharper tongue. And then there was Ethan, her 15-year-old son, slouched against the wall, earbuds in, pretending the world didn't exist. I hadn't seen Tommy in nearly a decade, not since he stormed out after one too many fights about his choices. Now here he was, homeless, broken, and expecting me to open my home and my heart without question. I'm Jack, a 58-year-old widower, living alone in a modest house in upstate New York. My wife, Sarah, passed 5 years ago, leaving me to navigate a quiet life of routine. Work at the hardware store, dinners alone, and evenings spent with old westerns. Tommy was our only child, a bright kid who fell into the wrong crowd in his teens, spiraling into drugs and bad decisions. I tried to help, but every attempt pushed him further away. The last I'd heard, he was drifting through cities, chasing fleeting highs. Now, he was back, and I couldn't turn him away not when he looked so lost. "Dad, we've got nowhere else to go," Tommy said, his voice cracking. "The shelter's full, and Lila's kid, he needs a roof." Lila didn't meet my eyes, her arms crossed tightly. Ethan glanced up briefly, his expression unreadable. I sighed and opened the door wider. "You can stay," I said, "but we need to set some ground rules." The first week was chaos. Lila took over my guest room, scattering clothes and half-empty takeout containers. Tommy tried to help with chores, but his efforts were half-hearted, like he was still figuring out how to be a son again. Ethan barely spoke, spending hours on his phone or staring out the window. I figured they'd settle in, find jobs, and get back on their feet. But then Lila dropped the bombshell. "I'm not working," she announced one evening, leaning back in my kitchen chair like she owned it. "I've got health issues, and besides, Ethan's your responsibility now, Jack. You're the one with the house." Her words hit like a punch. I looked at Tommy, expecting him to say something, but he just stared at the floor. Ethan, sitting at the table, froze, his eyes darting between us. I felt a surge of anger, but I swallowed it. This was my son's family now, and I had to make it work for him, for Sarah's memory. Days turned into weeks, and the tension grew. Lila spent her days watching TV or scrolling on her phone, contributing nothing but complaints. Tommy took odd jobs, but the money barely covered their food. Ethan, though, was the real puzzle. He was quiet, almost invisible, but I noticed the way he watched me when I fixed a leaky faucet or cooked dinner. One night, I found him in the garage, tinkering with an old radio I'd meant to throw out. "You like fixing things?" I asked. He shrugged, but his fingers kept working, carefully twisting wires. For the first time, I saw a spark in him, something alive beneath the sullen exterior. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. One morning, as I was making coffee, a woman knocked on my door. She was in her 40s, with tired eyes and a nervous smile. "I'm Maria," she said, "Ethan's aunt. I've been looking for him." I invited her in, and we talked quietly in the kitchen. Ethan overheard and joined us, his face a mix of shock and relief. He hadn't known Maria was looking for him. Lila, predictably, exploded when she found out, accusing me of meddling. "You're trying to tear us apart," she shouted. Tommy, caught in the middle, looked like he might bolt again. But Ethan spoke up, his voice steady for the first time. "I want to go with Maria," he said. "I'm not your kid, Lila, and I'm not Jack's job." The room fell silent. I saw Tommy's shoulders slump, the weight of his choices crashing down. Lila stormed out, leaving a trail of curses. That night, Tommy and I sat on the porch, the air heavy with unspoken words. "I messed up, Dad," he said finally. "I thought I could fix things with Lila, but I just made it worse." I put a hand on his shoulder, the first time I'd touched him in years. "You're here now," I said. "That's a start." Maria took Ethan to live with her in Rochester, promising to keep in touch. I gave him the old radio as a parting gift, and he hugged me, quick and awkward, before leaving. Lila moved out a week later, leaving Tommy behind. Without her influence, he started to change. He got a steady job at a warehouse, began attending NA meetings, and even helped me repaint the house. We didn't talk much about the past, but we shared small moments fixing the porch swing, watching Sarah's favorite movie. They were enough. Months later, Ethan visited with Maria. He'd enrolled in a vocational program, learning electronics, and his smile was brighter than I'd ever seen. "Thanks for looking out for me, Jack," he said. I waved it off, but inside, I felt a warmth I hadn't known since Sarah was alive. Tommy, standing beside me, looked proud not just of Ethan, but of himself. Life isn't perfect. Tommy's still rebuilding, and I'm still learning to let go of old hurts. But I've realized something. Family isn't just blood. It's the people you choose to fight for, even when it's hard. Ethan wasn't my job, but he was my chance to do right by someone who needed it. And Tommy? He's my son, flaws and all. I'll keep the door open for him, always.